So I am definitely a fan of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. However, it does have its limitations. And today I'd like to talk to you about what those limitations are, the 3 places that people tend to get stuck with CBT, what you can do about it, and then also how do you know when it's time to move on and try something different. Cognitive behavioral therapy is one of the best researched therapy techniques, and it has been proven to be very effective with a wide variety of situations, including difficult life transitions, grief, various types of anxiety, depression. Many things can be helped with CBT. And yet, it is often not the only answer for people. And my most popular video is cognitive behavioral therapy exercises. And I have some thoughts about why that's the most popular, but I actually created this channel because I feel that an integrated approach is necessary. So CBT is only one small piece of the overall picture of living a more joyful, grounded, happy, authentic life. So the 3 places that we get stuck with cognitive behavioral therapy, one of them is when it does not change our physiological responses and our emotional feelings. So that no matter how much CBT we're doing, we still feel overly activated, we get way too upset, our feelings and emotions don't seem to make sense. So that is one place. The second place is with regard to negative core beliefs. If we have underlying, deep-seated, deep-rooted negative core beliefs, it doesn't matter how much mindset training and cognitive behavioral therapy we do with this part of our brain, because this part of our brain is still going to believe those deep-seated negative core beliefs. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. And the third place people get stuck, which is all related to the other 2, is the integration of thoughts and feelings. So I have spoken with so many people who've done a lot of mindset training, CBT, they've changed how they behave, they're really doing incredibly well. To the external world, they look great, but their feelings still haven't shifted. Let's talk about each one of these areas and what you can do about it. And then I'm also going to get back, I said I would address how you know whether it's time to move on from CBT. How do you know if CBT has done as much as it can for you and you need to move on? So I'll address that towards the end. So let's come back to the question of the physiological and emotional feelings that are incredibly strong and don't necessarily seem to connect to the thoughts. And there are many practices that really, really can help with physiologically relaxing, accessing a sense of safety internally. So feeling calmer, feeling safer. And those practices include progressive body relaxation. There are YouTube videos on that, sometimes called progressive muscle relaxation. Diaphragmatic breathing, very, very, very important. Mindfulness meditation, and then mindful movement practices, yoga, tai chi. All of these things are incredibly supportive to moving to a more joyful life. So I really encourage you to explore one of these practices at a minimum. And then if you feel that you really need more assistance to address some of these physiological feelings, if they really feel out of control, then there are 2 therapy techniques that I recommend. One is dialectical behavior therapy, and the other is EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And I have a bunch of EMDR videos, which I can link here. And I am not a DBT therapist, although I do integrate some DBT techniques, but there are also videos on DBT that you can look at. And those are 2 therapy techniques in particular that can really help with addressing this portion of changing the physiological and emotional feelings. And while they both have CBT components, they do go way beyond CBT. And then the second place that people get stuck, negative core beliefs. I talk about these a lot because they really are key to shifting how you feel about yourself, how you feel about the world. And I do have a free PDF called Transform Your Negative Core Beliefs. You'll see a picture of it here, and you can obtain the PDF using a link which is in the notes below this video. Make sure you click Show More where it says that right underneath this video in the notes. And this PDF walks you through how to identify negative core beliefs, how to identify a positive counter to those, and then 3 exercises that you can use on a self-help basis. Now again, self-help works for some people, not for everybody. If you need more than self-help, there is also coaching. And I also have a coaching program, link is below, that really integrates all of these methods. It focuses on mindfulness meditation, transforming your negative core beliefs, healthy boundaries, and deep self-knowledge, self-compassion. So I integrate that into a coaching program. So it pulls in all of these different things. And I have a free webinar called Rewiring Your Brain for Joy and Confidence. And again, link to that free webinar in the notes below. So those are a couple of free resources. There's also plenty of books on changing negative beliefs. There are various videos. There are a number of ways to tackle this on a self-help basis, but many people need either a coach or a therapist to help guide them. Part of the problem of doing CBT or these other things on a self-help basis is that you are trying to solve a problem that's happening in here with this mind, right? So when our minds are stuck in particular patterns, to change those patterns is hard to do with the same mind that's creating those patterns. So it can be really helpful to have an outside person, a clergy person, a therapist, a coach, somebody to give perspective, provide a different frame, we call it, reframing things, and a different way to see things. And that can be more healing than simply trying to do it on self-help. But if self-help works for you, that's great. That's what these videos are for. And then if your negative core beliefs are so deep-seated and so deep-rooted that it's hard for you to even see that they're faulty, then it probably is necessary to utilize therapy. And the therapy I would recommend for this is EMDR. And I do have a video on Find an EMDR Therapist. And it does give a couple of reference sites for international, because I know of a lot of international people listening. And I'm hoping that can be a useful resource for you. So the third place where people get stuck, which is the integration of the thoughts and the feelings. And I have talked to so many people who have it all figured out up here. The frontal lobe knows that the negative self-talk doesn't make sense. It's not true. They know that those negative core beliefs are not true. And they may even have changed a lot of their behavior, functioning really well, look really good to the outside world. And yet they still feel some of those deep-seated feelings that go with those negative core beliefs and the negative self-talk, and they're not feeling good about themselves. So for those people who are really functioning well in the world, have done a lot of the CBT, have done a lot of the mindset training, an integrative coaching program can be super helpful. Working more on integrating the feelings with the thoughts and directly experiencing those feelings and really diving into them. So that again is some of the work that we do in the coaching program that I have. So I'm really hoping you'll join me for the webinar, Rewiring Your Brain for Joy and Confidence. In this webinar, I really talk about how much practice it takes to really rewire things so that we can get out of some of these stuck patterns, stuck habits, and stuck feelings. And again, the link for that webinar is below. And I also should mention right now it's early December 2020, and I'm offering it twice this month, and then I'll be offering it in January, and I may offer it a little bit next year, but I know that YouTube videos last forever. So at the moment, that's one of the things I'm offering. And if you are watching this a year from now, there'll be other things you can check out in the links below. Coming back to that question of how do you know if it's time to move on from CBT? Well, cognitive behavioral therapy is often thought of as a fairly short-term psychotherapy technique. In fact, I know some CBT therapists who will work with people for 8 weeks, teach them a technique, send them on their way. Now, I think many people need 6 months or so, but if you've been working with CBT for more than 6 months and you are not experiencing significant changes in how you think, how you behave, and how you feel, then I would recommend considering some of these other integrative techniques or some other psychotherapy techniques, because CBT, once you've learned it, if you can implement it, awesome. If not, something else is keeping you stuck. So just to summarize, cognitive behavioral therapy is a very powerful way to change how you think and how you behave. Yet, if you are stuck or if you have not made as much progress as you want, I believe CBT works best when integrated with other healing modalities and physiologically relaxing modalities. So I really encourage an integrative approach. So if you haven't watched some of my meditation videos, I do encourage those, and I'll link those here. And I do have some for complete beginners, and then I have some that are really for more advanced meditators, but all of them can be super helpful.